Have you ever been in a relationship where you constantly questioned your own reality? Where someone made you feel like the most special person in the world one day, then treated you like you were worthless the next? Where you found yourself walking on eggshells, desperately trying to avoid triggering an explosive reaction, while somehow always ending up being blamed for everything that went wrong? If this sounds familiar, you may have encountered a narcissist. And if you have, you know that the confusion, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion that follows these interactions isn't accidental. It's the result of a carefully orchestrated psychological campaign designed to give them control over your thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Narcissists don't just accidentally hurt people or stumble into manipulative behavior. They have a toolkit, a collection of sophisticated psychological tactics that they use systematically to maintain power and control in their relationships. These tactics are so effective because they exploit fundamental human needs for love, validation, and stability. Today, I'm going to reveal the 5 most devastating weapons in the narcissist's arsenal. You'll learn how each tactic works, why it's so psychologically effective, and most importantly, how to recognize these patterns before they destroy your sense of self. Whether you're dealing with a narcissistic partner, family member, boss, or friend, understanding these tactics is essential for protecting your mental health and maintaining your autonomy. By the end of this video, you'll never again wonder if you're crazy, oversensitive, or imagining things when you encounter narcissistic manipulation. You'll have the knowledge you need to see these tactics for what they really are: calculated attempts to control and exploit you. Before we dive into specific tactics, it's crucial to understand what drives narcissistic behavior. Narcissists have an insatiable need for what psychologists call narcissistic supply: constant validation, admiration, and attention that feeds their fragile self-esteem. Despite appearing confident or even arrogant, narcissists actually have deeply fragile egos that require constant external reinforcement. This creates a fundamental problem. Other people have their own needs, opinions, and autonomy that sometimes conflict with the narcissist's need for constant validation. So narcissists develop sophisticated manipulation tactics designed to ensure that everyone in their orbit provides the supply they crave, while never challenging their self-image or demanding reciprocal treatment. The tactics we're about to explore aren't random or accidental behaviors. They're strategic tools designed to achieve specific psychological objectives: to make you doubt your own perceptions, to create emotional dependency, to establish themselves as the authority on reality, and to ensure that your energy and attention are constantly focused on meeting their needs rather than your own. Understanding this framework is essential because it helps you recognize that narcissistic manipulation isn't about love, communication problems, or misunderstandings. It's about power and control, pure and simple. The first weapon in the narcissist's toolkit is love bombing, an overwhelming display of attention, affection, and adoration designed to quickly create intense emotional attachment and dependency. This isn't genuine love or even infatuation. It's a calculated strategy to bypass your normal psychological defenses and create artificial intimacy that the narcissist can later exploit. When narcissists identify a target, they study that person carefully to understand their vulnerabilities, desires, and unmet emotional needs. They then present themselves as the perfect solution to all of those needs. If you've been lonely, they become the most attentive companion you've ever had. If you've been criticized by others, they become your biggest supporter. If you've felt misunderstood, they become the only person who truly gets you. The intensity of love bombing is its key characteristic. Narcissists compress what should be months or years of relationship development into weeks or even days. They might declare their love immediately, talk about future plans together after just a few dates, or shower you with expensive gifts and constant communication. This creates a psychological whirlwind that's literally intoxicating. The brain responds to this intense attention by releasing dopamine and oxytocin, creating genuine feelings of euphoria and attachment. These biochemical responses make the experience feel more real and meaningful than it actually is. Victims often describe the love bombing phase as the most romantic, exciting, or fulfilling period of their lives. But love bombing serves a darker purpose. It establishes an emotional baseline that the narcissist will later use for comparison. Once you've experienced their intense attention and affection, normal human interaction feels inadequate by comparison. This creates a psychological dependency where you constantly try to recreate those early feelings by pleasing the narcissist and earning back their initial level of attention. Love bombing also serves to isolate you from other relationships. When someone is giving you constant attention and declaring you to be their soulmate, it becomes easy to deprioritize friendships and family relationships that seem less intense or exciting. This isolation makes you more dependent on the narcissist for emotional fulfillment and removes potential sources of reality testing that might help you recognize manipulation. Most importantly, love bombing creates what psychologists call trauma bonding. The intense emotional high followed by inevitable withdrawal creates an addictive cycle where you become psychologically dependent on the narcissist's approval to feel good about yourself. Once the love bombing phase has created emotional dependency, narcissists deploy their second major tactic, gaslighting. This is a systematic form of psychological manipulation designed to make you question your own memory, perception, and sanity. The goal is to establish the narcissist as the sole authority on reality while destroying your confidence in your own judgment. Gaslighting doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual process that starts with small distortions and escalates to major reality denial. The narcissist might claim they never said something they obviously said, insist that events happened differently than you remember, or deny promises they clearly made. Each individual incident seems minor, but collectively they create a pattern of doubt about your own mental reliability. The psychological power of gaslighting lies in its subtlety. If someone immediately told you that you were crazy or couldn't trust your own memories, you'd probably reject that assessment. But when they consistently introduce small doubts about your perceptions over time, those doubts accumulate and eventually undermine your confidence in your own mind. Narcissists are particularly skilled at gaslighting because they often genuinely believe their own distorted version of events. Their need to maintain their self-image is so strong that they unconsciously rewrite history to make themselves look better. This makes their gaslighting more convincing because they're not consciously lying. They're presenting their psychologically necessary version of reality. Common gaslighting phrases include, "You're too sensitive," "That never happened," "You're remembering it wrong," "You're overreacting," and "You're imagining things." These phrases are designed to shift focus from the narcissist's behavior to your supposed psychological problems. Gaslighting is particularly devastating because it attacks the foundation of your ability to navigate reality. When you can't trust your own perceptions and memories, you become dependent on external validation to know what's real. And the narcissist positions themselves as the only reliable source of that validation. Over time, gaslighting victims develop what psychologists call learned helplessness. They stop trusting their own judgment and become increasingly dependent on the narcissist to tell them what to think, feel, and believe about their experiences. The third tactic in the narcissist's arsenal is triangulation, the manipulation of relationships and communication to maintain control and create drama. Rather than dealing with conflicts or issues directly, narcissists involve third parties to serve their psychological needs and keep their targets off balance. Triangulation serves multiple purposes for narcissists. It allows them to avoid direct confrontation while still controlling situations. It creates competition for their attention, which feeds their need for narcissistic supply. It generates drama and chaos that keeps others focused on managing crises rather than examining the narcissist's behavior. And it prevents their targets from forming strong alliances that might challenge their authority. One common form of triangulation involves bringing ex-partners, friends, or family members into current relationship conflicts. The narcissist might compare you unfavorably to an ex, share intimate details about your relationship with others, or claim that everyone else agrees with their perspective on disputes. Another form involves playing people against each other by sharing different versions of events with different people, creating confusion and conflict within social groups. The narcissist might tell person A that person B said something negative about them, then tell person B something different, creating animosity between two people who might otherwise support each other. In family settings, narcissistic parents often triangulate by having a golden child who can do no wrong and a scapegoat who gets blamed for everything. This prevents siblings from uniting against the narcissistic parent and ensures that family energy is focused on managing these artificial dynamics rather than addressing the parent's problematic behavior. Workplace triangulation might involve a narcissistic boss sharing confidential information about one employee with another, creating an atmosphere of mistrust and competition that prevents employees from working together effectively. The psychological impact of triangulation is profound. It creates chronic anxiety as you never know who has been told what about you. It destroys trust in your relationships as you become suspicious of others' motives. It keeps you focused on managing drama rather than addressing the real source of problems. And it isolates you from potential sources of support and reality testing. Triangulation also serves to reinforce the narcissist's position as the center of all relationships and communication. Instead of people relating directly to each other, all interaction flows through the narcissist, giving them enormous power to control information and relationships. The fourth weapon in the narcissist's toolkit is the silent treatment, the deliberate withdrawal of communication and emotional availability as a form of punishment and control. This isn't the same as taking space to cool down during a conflict or needing time to process emotions. It's a calculated manipulation tactic designed to create anxiety, desperation, and compliance. The silent treatment exploits fundamental human needs for connection and communication. Humans are social creatures who experience isolation as a form of psychological pain. When someone we care about suddenly stops communicating with us, it triggers deep fears of abandonment and rejection that can be genuinely agonizing. Narcissists use the silent treatment strategically, typically deploying it when you've done something that challenges their authority, questions their behavior, or fails to provide adequate narcissistic supply. It's designed to teach you that questioning or disappointing them results in emotional abandonment. The psychological torture of the silent treatment lies in its ambiguity. You're left wondering what you did wrong, whether the relationship is over, and what you need to do to restore communication. This uncertainty creates tremendous anxiety and desperation that motivates you to do whatever seems necessary to end the silent treatment. During the silent treatment, narcissists often continue their normal activities while completely ignoring your attempts at communication. They might post on social media, interact normally with others, and go about their daily routine while treating you as if you don't exist. This contrast between their normal behavior with others and their complete withdrawal from you is particularly painful. The silent treatment typically ends when the narcissist decides they want something from you, or when they feel you've suffered enough to learn your lesson. They often return as if nothing happened, without acknowledging the pain they caused or addressing the original issue that triggered their withdrawal. This pattern creates a powerful conditioning effect. You learn to avoid behaviors that might trigger the silent treatment, which gradually restricts your ability to express your needs, set boundaries, or challenge problematic behavior. Over time, you may find yourself constantly monitoring your words and actions to avoid triggering this devastating punishment. The silent treatment is particularly damaging because it prevents resolution of conflicts and issues. Instead of working through problems together, the narcissist simply withdraws until you're willing to accept their perspective without discussion. The fifth and perhaps most insidious tactic is projection, the psychological defense mechanism where narcissists attribute their own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors to others. Rather than acknowledging their own flaws, insecurities, or problematic behaviors, they accuse their targets of having those exact same issues. Projection serves multiple purposes for narcissists. It allows them to avoid facing uncomfortable truths about themselves while simultaneously attacking their targets. It creates confusion and defensiveness that keeps their targets focused on defending themselves rather than addressing the narcissist's actual behavior. And it maintains the narcissist's self-image by externalizing all negative qualities onto others. Common examples of narcissistic projection include accusing others of being selfish while exhibiting extreme selfishness themselves, calling others manipulative while engaging in constant manipulation, or claiming others are lying while being habitually dishonest. They might accuse you of being controlling while attempting to control every aspect of your behavior, or claim you're being dramatic while creating constant drama themselves. The psychological impact of projection is profound because it forces you to defend against accusations that feel completely disconnected from reality. When someone accuses you of behaviors they're clearly exhibiting themselves, it creates cognitive dissonance that can be genuinely disorienting. Projection is particularly effective because it contains just enough truth to feel plausible. Everyone has moments of selfishness, control, or dishonesty, so when a narcissist accuses you of these things, you might wonder if there's some validity to their claims. This self-doubt is exactly what the narcissist wants to create. The most damaging aspect of projection is that it prevents genuine accountability and growth in the relationship. Instead of the narcissist taking responsibility for their problematic behavior, every issue becomes about your supposed flaws and failures. This creates a dynamic where you're constantly working on yourself while the narcissist remains unchanged. Projection also serves to isolate you from others by damaging your reputation. When narcissists publicly accuse you of behaviors they're engaging in themselves, it can damage your relationships and credibility, making it harder to seek support or maintain connections outside the relationship. Now that you understand these 5 tactics, let's talk about how to protect yourself from narcissistic manipulation. The first and most important step is recognizing that these behaviors are tactics, not genuine communication or relationship problems. When you can identify gaslighting, love bombing, triangulation, silent treatment, and projection as calculated manipulation strategies, you stop taking them personally and start responding strategically. Document your experiences by keeping a journal of interactions, conversations, and incidents. Narcissists rely on your memory being fallible and your confidence being shaken. Written records help you maintain clarity about what actually happened and protect against gaslighting attempts. Maintain relationships and connections outside of your relationship with the narcissist. These external relationships provide reality testing, emotional support, and perspective that narcissists try to eliminate through isolation tactics. Set and maintain clear boundaries about what behavior you will and won't accept. Narcissists will test and push against boundaries constantly, but consistently enforcing them is essential for protecting your mental health and autonomy. Avoid JADE, justifying, arguing, defending, or explaining when narcissists deploy their tactics. These responses give them ammunition for further manipulation and keep you engaged in their psychological games. Instead, stay calm, state your position clearly, and refuse to be drawn into emotional drama. Most importantly, remember that you cannot change, fix, or heal a narcissist through love, understanding, or perfect behavior. Narcissistic manipulation isn't caused by your failures or inadequacies. It's a systematic approach to maintaining power and control that will continue regardless of how you behave. The Narcissist Toolkit reveals the sophisticated psychological warfare that underlies emotionally abusive relationships. Understanding these tactics isn't about becoming paranoid or distrustful of everyone you meet. It's about recognizing patterns of behavior that indicate someone is more interested in controlling you than in having a genuine relationship with you. Healthy relationships involve mutual respect, direct communication, accountability, and the ability to resolve conflicts constructively. If someone in your life consistently uses love bombing, gaslighting, triangulation, silent treatment, and projection, you're not dealing with relationship problems. You're dealing with psychological manipulation. Trust your instincts, maintain your connections with others, and remember that no one has the right to make you question your own reality or sacrifice your mental health for their ego needs. You deserve relationships based on genuine love, respect, and mutual growth, not psychological control and manipulation. Have you recognized any of these tactics in your own relationships? What strategies have you found helpful for protecting yourself from manipulation? Share your experiences in the comments to help others recognize and resist these patterns. And if this video helped you understand narcissistic manipulation better, subscribe for more insights into protecting your mental health and maintaining healthy relationships.